Hey everyone, today we are painting these bright and vibrant tulips, so stick around. All right guys, so I have my Academy paper here. I have a light sketch down for our tulips, and I'm also using my 36 color Hippie Crafter palette. If you'd like to see it, the link is in the description below. They were so kind to send it to me, and I just love to give them a little shout out here today. So I've got some purple on my palette. I've got some pink going as well. I sprayed my palette down, so we're ready to paint. We're going to take that bluish purpley color, lots of water on my brush, so it's a very light color. And we're going to start by outlining the petals, the outside, the edges of the petals of our tulips. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that with several of these, maybe all of them, we'll see, before I take my clean brush and I start to blend it out. So I want a little bit of an edge here and just really light, because then we can go back in when it's dry, do our details, but it's nice to start really light. So you have a lot of options, a lot of layers that you can go with. Remember, with watercolor, you want to paint light to dark. Let's do our yellow one over here to the right, kind of yellow-orange. That's nice. And you want to go from light to dark. If you start dark, you can never lighten that up. You can try to lift color if you want to with a clean, damp brush, but it's never going to go back to that white paper. So light to dark, allowing you to have more options for layering for later on. Okay, so as you're noticing here, probably I decided to do a little bit darker on the edges and then just a little bit of color in the middle with just some clean water. And if we do just a little bit of water, it's going to dry a lot faster. We're going to use our green here. This is kind of a sap green color. I'm going to start outlining my leaves. Now, with your sketch, you'll notice that I have a lip of the leaf there where the leaf just kind of folds together in the middle. And we're going to create a darker shade to put in the middle there. So right now we're just painting the outside leaf in that lovely sap color, sap green color, using fresh water just to blend it out. Very, very light. We can go back in later on and add some other colors for some texture. So just really simple, just painting that in, and not too much water. If you do have a heat gun or a hair dryer, go ahead and use that later so you don't have to wait too long for drying time. But see, I just did one strip of color knowing that I was going to use that water just to blend it out, and see how pretty that is. Such a lovely, nice shade of green. Oh, I love this green. You can mix it up if you don't have it, but it's just got a really lovely yellow tone to it. And with a lot of water mixed in, it's a really lovely, almost a pastel green color. So just using your brush to draw in, paint in your stems as well. And if you wanted to leave it really light and pastel looking, just for spring, just for Easter, you could do that. You know, you could put this one layer down. No one is saying you have to do details or darker colors. It is fun to do, but it's also fun to create, different looks. And sometimes it can be, I don't know, just a little bit more stress relieving if you don't have to sit there for a longer time to go through and add a bunch of layers. So this is a bluish, kind of it reminds me of a pine tree color, a spruce, there you go, bluish green color. And we're just doing that on the top just because we want to emulate the idea of maybe there's more shadow. It's going to give this 3D effect for these leaves, and as if you're looking kind of partially into the leaf that is folded over. And so since it's more in shadow, has less light in it, we're doing a cooler green. Yes, that's right. Cooler green. Green is usually seen as a cool color, but if you look at different shades of green, you'll notice some of them have more yellow, which would make them more of a warm green. Some of them have more blue, which make them more of a cool green. So blue and yellow, variations of mixtures, make our green colors. Kind of an interesting thought. So cooler colors emulate things in shadow. Warmer colors emulate things that are hit by the light and have that brightness on them. All right, so some of these leaves, there's 4 of them are folded over, and this other one here is just the side facing. So we're not going to add that sprucey green color to it. All right, we're working on our blue shade here. There is some purple in there. we're going to go over it again. It's pretty dry, but I want to go over and just darken up those edges so they can really stand out. If you were to do everything, all the petals in one value, and value is just the lightness or the darkness of a color, in one value, light or medium or dark, it's going to look like one big petal. And so by outlining the petals, the edges, you're creating that differentiation between one petal here and one petal next to it. So again, spreading it out with water, clean water. It's kind of your little buddy here. All right, so we're gonna do another layer after this. But as we're sitting here doing this painting, or maybe you're just watching today, if you're enjoying this video, please give this video a like and remember to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell so that you know when I post again or if I go live. And if you guys have any ideas on some other spring florals you'd like to see, leave that in the comments. Or if you have a different technique you like to use for painting tulips, for example, definitely let me know in the comments. I always love to hear what your thoughts are. Just continuing on with darkening up these petals, I wanted to talk a little bit more as we're doing this about something about the idea of living in the past. Someone mentioned that the other day when I was asking what are some mental health topics people would like to hear about in the videos, and this idea of, how do you not live in the past and start living in the present or the future? And I think it's important to talk about the idea that there's some people that do live in the past. Those people tend to be the ones that hold on to the good old days. And when you're depressed, you're missing some things that you used to have that you don't have. You feel sad about that. People that live in the future, they're always looking for the next best thing. Today's not great, but tomorrow's gonna be better. This year has been terrible, but next year will be better. And never really truly appreciating what's happening right now. And those are the people that sometimes tend to have anxieties. Then they worry. They also worry about what's going to happen in the future. Can I control it? Is it going to be okay? Will I be all right? Will they be all right? Will people still love me? Will people still want to be with me? And we're always missing out on right now, being in the moment, looking forward to whatever it is we're doing now. We do need to be able to look forward, look backwards, but in a healthy way. As we're talking about that right now, I am just doing a darker, more saturated color of the paint. On the tops of these, we're just going to create that three-dimensional look because we're looking into part of the tulip, and that's going to be darker again, that shadowed part of the flower. And so we want to get to a point where we can be content with living in the moment, in the now. Not that we don't plan for a future, not that we don't look in the past with happiness and joy, but we're also, when we're doing an activity, we're engaging with people, that we're there, our brains are there, enjoying those moments, not missing out, not planning for the future, not regretting the things we did yesterday or wishing things were different, but being able to fully appreciate those moments. And how do you do that? One way to do that is when your brain is going somewhere else, to always focus it back to what you're doing. And sometimes you have to tell your brain, like, right now, I am painting this thing. Right now, I'm making dinner. And remind yourself, hey, your son is talking to you right now. Focus back on what he's saying and giving your brain that reminder to be present. A little bit more saturated green paint. This is that next step, adding in the texture, adding in the layers of our flowers. And we're just going to outline all the things. Now, when it comes to our leaves, I think we're probably going to do some little, not scratchy marks, but just kind of scrubbing some paint on there to give a little bit of texture versus just a flat wash. We already have a flat wash of that light green. I want to add in a little bit more with our brush. And so getting those on there. So I've got the tip of my dagger brush and I'm just moving it along the leaves, leaving some white spaces. What can be really pretty is a dry brush effect where you just allow that paint to start drying out on your brush. If you're running out of paint and it's getting a little dry, it skips along the paper, especially if you have a lot of texture on your paper, and that can create a really pretty look. Texture on water, texture in the sky. so texture on our leaves as well. And see how much more dimension now we have. We have the light from that first wash, and then we've got that medium color in some of the areas. I just think it looks really nice adding that together. So that'll be great. All right, so take a step back as we're doing this. Kind of contemplate, how are you doing? How are you enjoying this project? Are you liking the painting? What are some things that you enjoy about how your painting is turning out? If you want to add another leaf in here like I did, go for it. I just thought it would be fun to fill out our little bouquet just a little bit more. Do you like the colors or the composition, the design? Right now I have 6 leaves on there. I felt like we needed something here to kind of balance out the painting. And of course, darkening up those edges once more. When things are dry, since watercolor does dry one shade lighter, sometimes you have to go back in and do that. Okay, just brushing that out. And I think what we'll do next is I would like to add a wash to the whole thing. Just a basic wash. I think we'll do a nice light blue color, but I've got my number 16 round brush. So a large brush is going to give you very loose background color and cover a lot of ground. So I have a ton of blues on this palette. Some of them are lighter and darker. Some of them are pretty similar also, but we're just going to start with a lot of water, add in that blue, and just move it around, add some more water. I want to keep it very light and kind of pastel-y, and I don't want it to be so similar that our blue tulip disappears in the background. And you can even grab, some other colors, some turquoise in there, some cobalt blue, whatever you like, and just add that in. And to speak to the subject that we were talking about in terms of trying to be in the moment, one way you can do that is being very mindful. And an activity you can do to practice mindfulness is called, well, I'm not sure what it's called, but it uses your 5 senses. And so, for example, let's say you're going for a walk. Normally, our brain is somewhere else. We're thinking about all the things, and we're just missing out on the things we can experience with our senses. So as you're walking, maybe you can think about, what are the things that I can see? What are some of the colors and the shapes and the textures? What are some things that I can hear? The sounds of the animals, the wind, maybe how my steps sound, people talking. What are some things that you might be able to smell? Are there any things that you can smell along your journey? Are there any food smells that are wafting in the air? Or maybe sometimes you live close to a dairy and you're smelling some of the animals, or in a farm, and maybe you can stop and smell the flowers. What are some things that you can touch? Can you bend down and grab some grass, or can you play with the dirt as you're taking a little break? And as I'm talking here, we're just going over those greens again, outlining them, because sometimes they get a little bit diffused when we do our basic wash. And you can wait until your background is dry if you'd like before doing this. And the last thing is, what are some things I can taste? Most likely on your walk, you will not taste anything, but sometimes it's raining. You can kind of taste the rain, or it's snowing. Sometimes you'll stop for a hot drink, and that can be the taste factor. But being aware of your 5 senses, whether you're walking or in your home, allows you to appreciate those tiny little things. It gets your brain back instead of the thinking mode and just the present being mode, and being able to appreciate the things around you. I hope that is helpful in some way, and I encourage you and challenge you to practice those things at least a couple times this week. Let me know in the comments if being mindful is something that you do already, and do you have any other ideas of what other people can do to be more present? All right, so we have a few more leaves to go. I know there's a lot of layers with this one. You don't have to do as many as I did, but I'm kind of having a good time. So sometimes I get a little carried away, and sometimes, especially when you go lighter, you have the opportunity to go many layers. If you don't like how something is turning out and it's light enough, you can always add to it. So this is supposed to be relaxing and peaceful. And I always say, take a deep breath if you're feeling stressed at all by how this is turning out, or maybe not enjoying, the way that it looks for you. Being able to just relax, remind yourself this is practice. This is supposed to be fun, and hopefully that can help you to just relax into the process. All right, now we're going to start working on a few little details in the center of this tulip that is sort of facing us. Just a few of those little middle parts. They look a little bit like, I don't know, tiny watermelon seeds. So we'll just put 6 or 7 in there because it is shifted towards us, and so you can look inside the tulip just a little bit. The other ones we're not going to bother with some of those little parts, but this one definitely needed it just to give it a little bit more realistic look to it. All right, so now we're going to take our liner brush, and this is the most fun part. I don't know, maybe not, but for me it's pretty fun doing the details. So we are going to, we'll start with this one. A little bit of a line down the center, and then we're just going to do upward strokes, really thin lines to create those little veins in a tulip. Now, when people paint tulips, they don't often put this in the petals, but if you were to look at a tulip in real life, you're going to notice they have these tiny little veins. So I thought we could add those, and I thought it might be kind of fun just to do that today. So we've got some petals that are facing me and they're front and center. And then some of these side facing ones here, we're just going to put those in. We're just going to put those in the best that we can. And even if there's a little bit of petal, you can just put a few diagonal lines just to put those veins in. I love painting spring flowers, and it's been so cold lately, so I'm really excited to do this today. I hope you guys are excited to see tulips hopefully soon. If not in your garden, then at least maybe in the store. They're always selling some type of lovely spring florals typically. So a few there as well. I like adding in these veins. It's not necessary, but I think it's just a fun extra look. It just makes them look a little bit more fancy. And I really hope that you are enjoying this video today. Definitely check out the Hippie Crafter. Their paints are lovely, and I'm really appreciating the vibrancy in these colors and the selection. 36 colors, not so bad. All right, adding in a few more of those little veins on our yellow one. It's a little bit of a yellowy orange now. And you know, that color doesn't show up as brightly or as dark as some of the others, but that's okay. All right, we got to do our blue one as well. And once again, thank you so much for being here, guys. Remember to check me out on Patreon. The link is in the description. That's where I teach watercolor. And as low as $2.50 a month, you can get exclusive tutorials. In other tiers, you can get art prints. There's even a monthly live stream. I even have a mental health art workshop. Check it out, guys. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.